The most important thing that I can share with you is that Jesus Christ is my Savior. Because if that's not in place, everything else changes. For the rest of your life, if you want to be wise and you want to make good decisions, you have to try to mold and live your life by this book. You can find answers to a lot of problems you're going to find in situations in life inside the Bible. And I tell my students at school all the time, even through this tragedy that we've had, I tell them there's not one problem I have encountered in life that I could not find a good solution inside this book. Now, I can try to find my own solution, and I'll typically stumble and fall. But inside this book holds the answers to problems you're going to face. Now, how to hashtag on Twitter properly, how to post on Instagram is not found in this book. What I'm talking about is the things that really matter. Okay? How many of you guys use Instagram in here? Anybody here? How many of you use Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat? Okay. Here's the thing I want you guys to know. All right? When I was in college, Google did not exist. Yes. I know. What would you do? What would you do when you're sitting in class or you're sitting at home and you've got to look something up? We actually had to open a book. I know. Please don't fall out of your chair. Don't pass out. It's okay. But we had to open books and study. Now you guys have it made. You can get on there and you can Google and you can ask Siri. Knowledge and information is being shared just openly, and it's all kind of information out there. Okay? And your parents' generation, my generation, and the generations before, they didn't have access to the information that you guys have. So you guys are blessed, more than we were, to have access to that information. And I want to share some of that with you tonight, okay? Okay, does that sound good? Now, to continue what I was saying, I started college at Northeast. And from on to Northeast, I went to Jacksonville State. I graduated from Jacksonville State with a degree in elementary education. If you're in 6th grade, I was a 6th grade teacher for 9 years. Started my 10th year this year. And in the 3rd week of school this year, I was moved to Valley Head as the K-12 counselor. K-12 meaning I'm the only counselor for students in grades K through 12. Okay? We have between 475 and 500 students. Okay? I love what I do. I love my job. Now, I liked being a teacher, and I felt like that was the appropriate thing for the time for what I was doing. But when God put the burden on my heart to go back and get my master's degree, and I started my master's classes, I knew counseling's where I needed to go. And in the job He's put me in, the place He's put me at, I could not imagine myself doing anything else. First, I want you to know this, if you'll read along with me. Jeremiah, the 1st chapter, the 5th verse says this: "Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations." The first thing I want you guys to realize is that you have a purpose. Every one of you have a purpose. And God has a purpose for your life. He had a plan for you. Even before you were created, God had a plan for you. And that's an amazing thought, because you can realize how special each one of us really are if the one who created the universe, all the planets, all the stars, all the fish in the sea, birds in the air, He took time to make you special. He made you unique. And in that uniqueness, He set forth a pathway and a plan for what He wants you to do with your life. Some of you may change the world. That would be awesome. And some of you, your job may be to sit in the pew on Sunday mornings. By the way, that's necessary. Okay, guys, that's necessary. So everyone has a purpose, and God has a pathway for their life. Read that other part in Jeremiah now. "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." So not only did God know you before He made you, He had a pathway or a plan for your life. He also saw it all the way through to the end. So if you follow His pathway and plan, it's already laid out in front of you. I want you to ask yourself, what is my purpose? Now, some of you are very young, and you have no idea what you're going to do in the future. And if you're in 6th grade, the next six years of your life, you're going to change completely. you're going to change. Okay? Your habits, your hobbies, the fun things you like to do, completely change. Friends you hang out with, completely change. So, within those 6 years, you've got a lot to do. But if you're in college, or if you're in late high school, you're starting to see, well, I've got to start becoming an adult. Now, what is your purpose in life? Is your purpose to be a pastor? Is your purpose to be a teacher? Is your purpose to be a ditch digger? How many of you have ever heard your parents say something about ditch diggers? Well, and the world needs them, right? I've heard that said before. In some of the career counseling classes I had in my master's, well, the world needs ditch diggers too. Okay? That's what they'd say. All those jobs are essential. Now, let's talk about a job versus a career. Can someone tell me what is a job?
You do it, you go, you get money.
You do it, you go, you get money. A job. Okay, that's a good answer. Let's look right here in Proverbs, the 19th chapter, the 21st verse says, "There are many devices in a man's heart, nevertheless the counsel of the Lord that shall stand." The counsel of the Lord. That means that man has ideas, he has things, he may even dream in his heart. But God's plan is ultimately what you need to try to follow. Okay, God's plan. Also in Proverbs 16:9 it says, "A man's heart devises his ways, but the Lord directs his steps." Now, first you need to understand something. If you're not in tune with God, it's going to be really hard to hear the communication He's telling you to direct your steps. See, if you don't talk to God, if you don't pray, if you don't study His Word, you're just going to be out there wandering around. I don't know where to go. Okay. Have you ever been traveling with your parents, or maybe you've done it yourself, and you use your cell phone for your GPS? You had your parents ever do that before? We get lost somewhere, we turn on our GPS, right? We had the Alabama Counseling Association meeting in Montgomery. And coming in as a counselor a little bit late in the year, I had to register late. And what happens when you register late? A, you pay more money. And B, you don't get to always stay at the hotel, motel, whatever you're choosing. At that time, I had an iPhone. Made sure it was charged. You know, we've got to charge that phone. And I go to the convention that day. Little did I know that the convention lasted, by the time we ate and everything else, until 9 o'clock that night. And it started at 8 o'clock that morning. So, no problem. I don't mind. I'm not scared. I'll walk in the woods without a stick or anything, at night. So here we go. So I leave the convention center, and I had used my GPS on my phone to walk from where I was staying to the convention center. And I pick up my phone, and I thought, yep, I'll just backtrack my steps, and my phone was dead. It was dead. So, 45 minutes after I walked around Montgomery and saw the Capitol building twice, I find this nice police officer. Now, this is a police officer of Montgomery, and I think, he's going to be able to tell me where I need to go, right? And he sent me back to the convention center. Needless to say, about an hour's time passed, I finally found my hotel. And anyway, guys, if you are out there wandering around without a map, without any kind of compass or guidance, you're going to be lost. You're not going to know where you're at. You're just going to be meandering around, and you're going to find yourself stuck in situations where you don't know what to do. Couldn't call someone. Why not? My phone was dead, right? So, all that being said, guys, you need to make sure you stay in tune with God's plan for your life, and the way to do that is by listening to Him. Now, not tonight, maybe not tomorrow night. We're not going to get all of you together, or your church is not going to get you all together and say, okay, who's going to be the engineer? Yes, you're going to be the engineer, all right. You're in 6th grade, so you're going to be the doctor one day. Oh, wait a minute, we've looked at your GPA. Maybe not. Okay? I had dreams of being a doctor one day. I really did. I had dreams of being a doctor. I thought I was going to be a doctor, and that's what I wanted to be. And then I got in 1st grade, and I realized that school was a little bit harder. It wasn't just all kindergarten. Thank you. I got one guy over here who got that joke. He's like, oh, it means the work got harder. Yeah. I realized I wasn't going to be a doctor. But guys, you've got to follow God's pathway for your life. And you need to know how He's directing your steps. you don't realize how things that happen today will affect you later on. A job is somewhere you go and you get money, right? A job is not necessarily a career, because a job is something we think of as being something that's temporary. It's just something that, I'll do this for a while. So a job, on your sheet here, it tells you, a job is something you do as a daily activity that produces income. You want a vehicle. Then mom and dad says, you got to pay for your own vehicle, or you got to pay for your insurance or your gas or whatever it is. So you go get a job at McDonald's. Is that your long-term goal? Maybe not. Maybe it is. But the Bible's clear about any job we have. Let's say that I love my job. So it's easy to get up in the mornings, go to my job. I love my co-workers. They're awesome people. I love the kids I work with. It's easy to get out of bed and go to work. Makes my job fun. I like it. But what if it was that job that I did not like? Oh, when it's raining, I could just lay in bed. You get to work, and you got the grumpy stuff going on. You're ill with your co-workers. You're not nice to your boss. I want to cook these fries. Smells in here. You just told me to go clean the bathroom, so I don't want to do that. You're going to encounter that. But guys, you have to remember that you just don't serve yourself in this world. Why are you here in this building? Did this building just, somebody's like, hey, let's build a building over here, and it just happened? No. In the book of Colossians, the 3rd chapter, it says, whatsoever you do, do it heartily as unto the Lord and not unto men. So when you're working at McDonald's and you're cooking those fries and the grease is getting on you, and your boss comes by and says, I need you to go replace all of the toilet paper in stall 3. And you're like, I don't want to do that. You have to remember, I'm not serving myself, I'm serving my Savior. And my Savior tells me in His Word, everything that I do, to do it heartily unto the Lord. I do it for Him, not for myself. Now, I have some bad news to break to you guys, and I'm sorry to have to do this. But that doesn't just apply to job. That applies in your home. I don't know of any teenager that's like, yeah, dishwashing time. Let's fold some towels. Y'all don't get excited about that. I don't get excited about that. Okay? Let's mop the floors for mom. Sure. But guys, whatever you do, you need to do it heartily unto the Lord. Even when your parents give you something to do, you need to try to have that mindset. The next thing about jobs is they come and go. Jobs are going to come and go. The average statistics, if you don't know what statistics are, ask your parents. The average statistics says that you will work at a job for 4.4 years. And then you'll move to another job, 4.4 years. And then you'll move to another job. See, your grandparents and your parents, some of them, had careers where they went to work for a company, and they worked for that company for 30, 35, 40 years, and they retired with that same company. They might have changed a little bit in a supervisor position, but they stayed there for the long haul. Guys, that doesn't exist anymore, because the world that you guys are going to grow up in, jobs change rapidly. For example, when I was in college, Google did not exist. And think about all the jobs that Google created. And Google didn't exist, and neither did YouTube. Yes, or Netflix. Oh my goodness. We can't binge watch on the snow days. We actually had to turn on the TV. And the antenna. The jobs that Netflix and Google and YouTube has created. What about this? Social media. When I came home from college one weekend, I had a buddy who works in Huntsville. He's best friend from high school. And he's a computer programmer. And I had come home and we went and ate, and we got back. He said, hey, I need to tell you about this new website that they've been talking about in some of our classes. And it's going to be for college students only. That's how it was at the time. For college students only, where you can network with people in college that you went to school with. It's called Facebook. It was brand new. Think about the jobs that have been created because of that. Guys, that's the world you're going to grow up in. That's why the jobs are changing to 4.4 a year, and that's why you'll see more jobs in your lifetime. Now, the average working adult today will have 10 jobs by the age of 40.
Wow.
That's how many times they'll change. And you guys, if you're young, you will have between 15 and 20. Jobs come and go, and a job is not your calling. It's not your calling, because your calling may not be to work at McDonald's for the rest of your life. If you do it heartily, but that's not your calling. Let's look down a little bit further on this sheet, and the next word there says career. That's a word that a lot of people like to throw out there. Let's get you career-oriented. Now, Alabama does that with the Department of Education. College and career ready. Make sure you're focused on your career. You're in 7th grade. We need to know what you're going to do. Okay? But a career is not exactly what I want you to be focused on either. Now, it's a little bit different than just a job, because a career is something you're going to do long term. Education, I guess I would say, is my career. But the word career is derived from the French word, which means racetrack. Ask your parents, do you feel like your career is a racetrack? Everybody knows what you do on a racetrack, right? Do you drive in a straight line? No. You turn left, and you turn left, and you turn left, and you go in a what? You go in a circle. Okay? If you're on a racetrack, it's something that's repetitive that you do over and over and over again. And a lot of people are in careers, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Career is not a bad thing. I don't want you to get that mindset. But a career does not identify totally with what your calling is. Okay? Your calling, your whole purpose, God might have made you to work with children. And your career is you work at a bank. Because there are people who at some point in time did not have good guidance on following what their vocation was in life. And there's nothing wrong with being in that career, because remember, as Christians, if you're in that job, if you're in that career, you're supposed to do it heartily unto the Lord. How did we just say? Heartily unto the Lord. So if you're in your career, you still got to get in there and you still do it. I'm working for you, Jesus. I'm doing this because I want to work for your kingdom. I want to be a benefit. And you can still have a great impact in that career. But it may not directly be what your calling is. Now, the next thing I want us to talk about is a vocation. And I chose that word because of a specific reason in what was written in the Bible. Okay? Your vocation is what you are called to do. What you're called to do. What is God's purpose for you? What is He calling you to do? Now, some of you in 6th grade, He's just calling you to go to school, obey your parents, and be obedient to what you're supposed to do. But if you're in college, or if you're about to get out of college, or you're a 50-year-old male, your vocation directly ties to what God is calling for you to do in your life or with your life. Ephesians 4:1 says this, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called. See, guys, this is what's awesome about our Creator. He can actually work it out to where your work and your career and your job fits into the plan He has for your life, and it benefits His kingdom. So my dad urged me, go to college, go to college, go to college. And I started out as an engineering major, and he was so proud. Oh, he was so proud. Because what's one thing we know about engineers? They can do pretty well financially. But guys, I want to share this with you. This is in Proverbs 15:17. This is one of my favorite verses of all time. And I have several, but this is one of my favorites. It says, better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stall-fed ox of hatred therewith. What that means is, can I put that in DeKalb County-ese terms? Let's put it in our language. You're better to be poor, and eat ramen noodles every night, but have love, especially godly love, in your home, than to be rich and eat barbecue ribs and a steak, with some sweet tea, and some dessert. Okay? Guys, that's because when Proverbs was being written, it was wisdom passed down that God's love is what makes you have an awesome home, not money. And I would talk to God, and I would pray, and I would read, and I'd say, God, I want to do what you want me to do with my life. You let me serve you. Let me have a purpose. I want to be the one who works for you. And while I was praying that, I knew inside here, God was telling me, education is the way you need to go. I have a plan for this. Education is where I want you to be. So I go home one day, after praying about this a lot, and I set my dad down, and I'm like, Dad, I'm going to change my college major. It's typical for college students. They do that 1, 2, 12, 14 times. And my dad says, what are you going to change it to? I'm going to be a doctor? You're going to be a lawyer? I'm like, Dad, I'm going to be a teacher. And I saw a grimace look on his face. He said, Son, are you sure about this? Because educators they don't make much money. Are you positive? I'm like, Dad, I've prayed about this, I've prayed about this, I've prayed about this. This is where I feel like I need to go. And my dad looks at me with love and he says, well, if you are satisfied, that's what God wants you to do. I was paid more and blessed more in my job that was not financial by working with the students I got to work with every day than $1 million salary could have ever covered. Because that verse in Proverbs is absolutely 100% true. I chose to go towards my vocation, not what I wanted to do. That was God's true calling on my life. Now, that leads me to today. In the world I work in today, guys, in the first year of my job as a counselor, we lost a student. And not just any student, not that any grade level was more important than the other, but we lost a senior who was going to graduate in 3 weeks. Okay. At those moments, when we were trying to take care of those kids at that school, that's when I realized wholeheartedly, 100%, because there's some days when I was giving ACT tests that I doubted it. Maybe I'm not in the right place. But it was at those moments that I realized, God, I'm working where you want me to be. Because you've placed me here to help these kids. And guys, that's what finding your vocation is, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to grow up and find your vocation. Now, please, don't go home tonight and tell your parents, I want to get a job where I don't make much money, because the guy at the church up there tonight is slightly balding. He said that I need to, he said that I need to find a job. Okay? That we must listen for God's vocation in our life. And sometimes the best thing we can do, can I use this word that kindergartners don't like? You know, this is the S word to kindergartners. Sometimes you have to shut up and listen. Right? Yes. So guys, you've got to be willing to listen, and you've got to be willing to be active, to get up and whatever it is God's calling you to do, to go do it. Okay? Now, all that being said, there was a man whose name was Thomas Merton, and this is on your sheet, by the way, who said, a tree gives glory to God by being a tree. That tree that God created gives glory to Him by being a tree. In being what God means it to be, it is obeying. Obeying. Okay, guys? That's what I'm talking about. Obey. Listen to what's being told for you to do. That tree is just being what it was created to be, and that's what I want you to see. God has a specific purpose and a plan for each and every one of you, but you've got to be willing to listen and obey His command. How do I find my vocation? I've told you all these stories, and I've told you all this stuff. Now let's really get down to the nitty-gritty of what I'm here to talk to you about. What will you do in your life? What will you do? Will you be an entertainer? Will you be a golf player? I could probably ask all the guys, I'm going to play professional sports.
No.
Okay? No? We have that in here? Okay. Some of you girls, yes, I'm going to be a professional, whatever. Softball player. I'm going to make millions of dollars, and I'm going to play softball doing it. Okay? Guys, this goes back to doing your vocation and understanding that better is in your verbs. Did you know, this is just a little fact, I'm not going to charge you guys for this, okay? This is free. Did you know that 90% of professional athletes are bankrupt within 5 years of leaving the sport that they play? All those millions of dollars that they made, what happened to it? They blew it. Okay? Better is a dinner verbs. Now, first of all, you have to pray and listen to find your vocation. The second thing that I want you guys to do at some point in time, if you're in college, this is pretty important. Something you need to do. Or late high school, definitely want you to. 6th grade, you just need to make sure that you wear deodorant. Okay? That's important. Just make sure you put on deodorant every day. You can get to this stuff later. But guys, there is a thing called an interest profile. I wish I had had this in school, even though I was fortunate because I had a creator who I tried to listen to, and he directed my paths. Okay? But that interest profiler has different things. You can take this and it'll ask you, do you like to mow the yard? Do you like to write a book? Do you like to... And it'll ask you all these questions. Not all of them are that boring. And from that interest profiler, it'll start diagramming your personality. And it'll tell you what you're best suited to do. And this is a common problem I have with seniors and juniors who walk in my office and they're like, I don't know what to do with my life. They're 3 weeks away from graduation. I'm like, well, what are some interests you have? I don't know. You ever done? I have them do this. And they come in and they take this interest profiler and I'll start saying, okay, this is your personality type and these are the jobs that you might possibly be suited for. Don't expect to get a job and walk into your boss's office on Friday. You just started Monday and say, yeah, what about that raise? Okay? Or, hey, can I take that management position? I know I've only been here 4 days, but I understand the business. Okay? Guys, it's not going to happen. It takes time. It took me 10 years in education to move to a different job. So you have to be patient and you have to be a diligent worker, okay? And yes, you may have to go back for other training or other school. When I was in college, I was very fortunate. I went to the University of West Alabama to get my master's degree, and I had a gentleman who was an adjunct teacher, had his class online, and he was a Christian. And buddy, we had some good conversations through email and through phone calls. And he started telling me about this guy named Holland. And this was Holland's, he developed this theory and he started breaking down these different personality types. And I gave those to you guys. So let's look at those for just a moment, okay? This is Holland's vocations. Realistic is the first one. Out beside that, I put doers. And what it tells you here is these are the people who are independent, stable, persistent, genuine, practical, and thrifty. No nonsense. No nonsense. The jobs that would be good for a realistic person or a doer would be a carpenter or a firefighter or a police officer. If you took that personality test and that's what they told you was your personality trait, that is just an example of a few of the jobs that you could do. The next one was investigative. These are the thinkers. These are the people who are intellectual. They're introspective. They are curious. Very methodical. You know what I mean by curious? Curious George. He was a curious little monkey. Okay? These are the people who are very curious about everything, and they want to investigate everything that goes on. Why does this work this way? Why does it do this? It's the why kids in class. Y'all have those in your classroom? Why? But why? But why? Okay? That's what they are, and that's their personality. People that would be good at this job are chemists. They want to break down those chemicals and see. Also, computer programmers. So a doctor. What do doctors do?
Make you better?
They save lives, they make you feel better. Do you walk into a doctor's office and say, Doctor, I think I have a cold? And he says, thank you for telling me. Please pay the lady up front. So, No. You go in and you tell your doctor, yeah, I'm not feeling well. Feeling kind of sick. I feel fatigued. Okay, my dad made me push mow the yard and now I'm sneezing a lot. And he's going to investigate all your symptoms and he's going to try to prescribe medicine to you or tell you what's wrong with you. Also a meteorologist. This is another job. They like to study the weather. They like to see why weather patterns make what it does what it does. The next category is artistic. These are the creators in the world. Artistic people are very important. And when you think of artistic or creators, what do you think of? You think of painters, right? Rappers. There you go. Here's a guy over here. Who's the artistic people in the crowd? Oh, the rappers. You know. Okay? Not just painters, not just actors, but rappers. How about this? Comedians. Comedians have to be artistic, right? If they just walk out in front of a group of people and they tell a knock-knock joke, okay, they have to be able to create, to write these things down, and to take a chance on those things. And by the way, graphic designers, that's another job. If you're a graphic designer, if you do things with Adobe, with Photoshop, you would probably be in that artistic category. So there's all kind of jobs out there in that one also, guys. The next one is social. This is probably where I would fit. Your helpers. If you're in the social category, it's people who are kind. I don't remember being that. We'll move to the next word. I'm just kidding, guys. Generous, cooperative, patient, caring, helpful, empathetic, tactful, and friendly. These are the people who you know you could go talk to. By the way, what do you think is one job that might be in the category of social? Counselor was a great answer. It's people who are in social work. That's trainers. That's counselors. That's your pastors. That's people who are empathetic and they listen and they genuinely care about people. That's what people in that area do. I put this down as persuaders. These are the people who can sell you anything. They can sell you anything. These would be your salesmen. These would be your bankers. Maybe stock market managers. Even a judge. Even a lawyer. They fit into that category. And the last category there, guys and girls, are the conventional. And out beside it, for your simplicity, I put organizers. These are people who literally like to study numbers. Bookkeepers. Secretaries. People who are going to be examiners for insurance companies. This is necessary. Hey guys, one of those categories, if you were to take that test, you will fit into. And you may know, you may have an idea. And here's what's even funny about that, is that some of you may think, oh yeah, well, you know that category for doctors? That's me. That's the one I'm going to get. And then you take the test, and you find out you're realistic.
You're a farmer.
Yeah, you're going to be farming. You're going to be doing something, working with your hands. You're going to be hammering a nail. Because, guys, what you think up here sometimes, and what you're being guided in here, is two totally different things. If you take this test, is that going to tell you what you're going to do the rest of your life? No. This is just something to help you, because ultimately, what do you need to do when you're looking for your career one day and your vocation? You need to listen to what Christ tells you to do. You've got to listen to Him. You've got to listen and be directed by the pathway and the steps that He makes you take. And guys, also remember, just because you have a job today doesn't mean you'll have that job tomorrow. Just because you have that career today doesn't mean it will always exist. That's why you need to follow your vocation. I'm satisfied in this. No matter what storm comes in your life, no matter what hardship you face, Jesus Christ is always there. Always there. And sometimes, guys, we have to go through a storm to get to the rainbow on the other side. Sometimes we have to. And sometimes the storms in life that we face, God purposed for us to work through it according to His plan. Think about this. What if Lazarus, y'all know who Lazarus was? What if Lazarus had never died? What happened to Lazarus? Well, he died. And when Lazarus died, what else happened afterwards? Jesus came to the tomb. Does anybody know? What? Say it. Say it out loud. What?
He rose him from the dead.
He rose from the dead.
I mean, mean resurrection?
What if Lazarus, very good, what if Lazarus had never died? Part of God's purpose and plan was for Lazarus to die, so that people could see who Jesus Christ really was. Okay, guys, sometimes when you face hardships in life, we don't understand why things happen. But I promise you, God's got a plan. Stick to it. And when you get ready to go to work one day, when you get ready to go make your income, when you get ready to provide for your family, by the way, does the Bible talk about working any? It's pretty plain, is it not? It says if you don't work, you don't eat. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to eat. So I better be willing to work. As Christians, it is our calling to be hard workers, guys. So keep that in mind. Now, on the bottom of that sheet, you see that little QR code that's at the bottom? You guys can scan that, or you can go to davidlmarks.com. There's all kind of information on there, on that page. But if you go to davidlmarks.com, there is a link on the side that says Vocational Counseling, and these notes, plus other notes, are there. There is a resume template you can download if you ever need to do that for school or do that for college or do that for a job one day. There's a resume template there that I've got, and I'll be adding more and more to it as time comes along. But you can also click a link, and you can go online and take the test that will tell you which one of those characteristics, which one of those personalities you fit into. Of the ONET interest profile, which is based off of Holland's, it will then tell you jobs based off educational experience would be good. For example, it may say very little training. That might mean a high school diploma. Or it might say extensive training. That might mean master level or PhD. So there's all kind of jobs that are listed there that you guys can find. Those resources are there. I hope you guys go on there at some point in time in your future and you use that. And those resources, of course, are always free. It doesn't cost you a thing to do that. So take advantage of that. I want to encourage you guys, go to college. If you don't want to go to a 4-year degree program, find a job that you can do with a 2-year degree program. There are young students who are coming out of high school with welding training. Then they go to Northeast and they finish a certificate at Northeast and they make more than I do right now. Oh yes. There are students in DeKalb County who are taking the robotics program at the tech school. When they graduate, they'll make more than I do right now. This balanced tire of my life, let me tell you what it tells you to do. I tried to keep the directions simple so that I can make the tire bigger on the page. I don't want to give you a little bitty tire, all right? So I tried to keep the directions simple, and here's what it basically tells you to do. Score yourself from 1 to 10 on priority in life. Then it says 10 being great, 1 not great. Shade in the area. Now, is everyone hearing this? Shade in the area, starting in the center, with a 10 shading the whole piece. So if you have a 1, are you going to shade the whole piece? You can tell I taught 6th grade, right? Because I had kids like, No, you do not. You shade in very, very close to the center. And what did it ask you here? Priorities in your life. Now, how many of you have a career right now? There's not many of you who may. You could put school in that place instead of career. Okay? This is designed for maybe those who are out of high school or those who I talk to and work with who were juniors or seniors. The next one is social. Well, most of you probably, if you've got 9,000 Facebook friends, social would probably be a 10. If you wake up first thing in the morning and the first thing you do is get on Instagram, that would probably be a 10. If you get on Twitter more than 19 or 20 times a day, social would be a 10. Just trying to make it easy for you. So you have career, you guys can use school. Then you have social. The next thing is family. How important is family time with you guys? You're teenagers. Most of you lock yourself away in the dungeon you call your bedroom. Mom and Dad, all I need for you to do is keep bringing the Oreos and milk. Okay? Make sure you pay the power bill so I can play the Xbox, okay? How much is in family important? Spiritual. How much time, be honest, do you really spend praying, studying, talking to God, coming to church, participating in youth activities? Physical. How many of you really care about your physique? I'm not talking about, look at the six-pack. I'm ripped. Yeah, you flex. You walk by the mirror, and you stop, and you walk back by the mirror. Okay? That would be your physical. Not just that, guys, your overall health. Let me go ahead and tell you, if you're eating more than 3 packs of Oreos a day, you have a problem. Okay? The next one here, personal development. What does that mean? How much time do you work on building your character? What activities do you participate in where you make yourself a better person? That can include working with your youth group. Hey, here's a concept, guys. Volunteering your time. The church needs to go do something for people. I used to really just wonder and scratch my head at this. But my dad and some of the dads of my youth group when I was growing up, they took us out and made us split firewood for the elderly. That would be personal development and develop calluses. But it was personal development, okay? Also financial. Now I know you guys are like, yeah, my parents pay for everything. But guys, if you work, if I hire you and I pay you $20 to come mow my yard, how many of you want to know how much you're going to give to your church? What? That's my $20. I shouldn't have to give. Yes, you should. Because, guys, when you work one day for a job, you're going to pay taxes, number one, and Social Security, and state taxes, and health insurance, and then you're going to have money left over. And that money you have left over, you need to dedicate a portion of that money to your church. Okay? Because if your parents and the people of this church didn't dedicate money to this church, this microphone does not work. These lights are not on. You're not sitting in heating or air conditioning. You don't have those TVs, that drum set, or this carpet. Your church is something you need to support, not just by showing up and eating the hot dogs. They're good. We're thankful. But guys, when you make a little money, tithe to your church. Let me encourage you to do that. Now, because ultimately in this world, nothing that I have is mine. It belongs to God. He gave me everything. And you can say, well, you earned the money. Who gave me the health to get out of bed? Who gave me the brain to have the ability to go do it? Good answer, good answer. Ultimately, everything is God's. Be sure that you give back to Him, okay? And God loves that you're forgiven. I want you to seriously think about your futures. I want you to think about what is your vocation in life, even if you're 15, 16 years old. That doesn't mean you've got to determine today that you're going to be a nurse or an engineer or drafting or robotics. But it means that you're starting to talk to God about it. Lord, what do you want me to do?